With the breaking news, a fresh trade war between the US and China has just kicked off.
As you know, I put on large tariffs on China, and they've really been forced to leave them.
America's auto industry faces a Chinese EV takeover. The US auto industry thought tariffs would protect it, but nothing prepared it for the storm ahead. Chinese EVs are advancing fast, cheaper, more advanced, and already finding ways into the market despite US restrictions. Tesla, Ford, and GM now face a crisis unlike any before, as China dominates battery tech, efficiency, and cost-cutting. The question is, can the US fight back? A trade war on wheels. For years, American automakers relied on tariffs to shield them from foreign competition. When Chinese EV makers surged into global markets, Washington responded with high taxes to block them. The strategy was meant to price them out of competition, but China didn't slow down. It doubled down. Companies like BYD, Speng, and NIO slashed production costs, making EVs so affordable that even with tariffs, they remained competitive. While Ford and GM struggled to keep EVs under $50,000, China was selling feature-packed models for as little as $10,000. The impact is real. Chinese EVs are already flooding Europe, Africa, and South America, and they are sneaking into the US. Manufacturers are setting up plants in Mexico to bypass tariffs using trade agreements. Others partner with US startups, disguising their origins to gain market entry. At the Canton Fair in Guangzhou, industry insiders got a shocking preview of the future. China's latest EVs weren't just cheap, they were game changers. Autonomous driving, next-gen batteries, and AI-powered systems were no longer exclusive to high-end Western brands. China was bringing them to the masses, making US automakers look outdated. Even Tesla is feeling the heat. Elon Musk warned that if American manufacturers don't adapt fast, Chinese EV makers will dominate the world. Tesla has innovated, but its production costs remain too high. Meanwhile, China's ultra-efficient supply chain is setting a new global standard. The battle isn't coming, it's already here. China's EV takeover is a crisis for the US auto industry. The rise of Chinese EVs poses a major threat to the US auto industry. If they continue gaining ground, thousands of American jobs could vanish, entire manufacturing sectors might collapse, and the dominance of US automakers could fade. Washington's response was slow, while China advanced rapidly, widening the gap. Some lawmakers pushed for stricter bans on Chinese EVs, but such moves risk triggering a trade war. Meanwhile, US automakers face tough choices: cut costs without sacrificing quality, ramp up battery production, and secure rare earth materials without relying on China. The race was on, but China already had a massive lead. If trends persisted, American consumers would soon face a choice: pay premium prices for a domestic EV or buy a cheaper, feature-packed alternative from China. With economic uncertainty looming, the decision seemed obvious. The US auto industry was in its toughest fight yet. Could it bounce back in time? For over a decade, Tesla dominated the EV industry, setting new standards and making electric cars mainstream. But its biggest threat wasn't Ford or GM, it was China. Chinese automakers like BYD mastered affordability and efficiency, producing high-quality EVs for a fraction of Tesla's cost. Some models sold for under $6,000, making even Tesla's cheapest cars look expensive. Battery production was another challenge. China controlled 80% of global lithium refining, giving its EV industry a massive edge. Tesla's 4680 battery cells were promising, but its supply chain still relied heavily on China. If tensions escalated, Tesla could struggle to source critical materials. At the Canton Fair, Chinese EVs showcased superior technology, faster charging, longer ranges, and full autonomy. Some models could charge to 80% in just 10 minutes, a feat Tesla was still chasing. The message was clear: while Tesla once led the charge, China had caught up and, in some cases, surpassed it. Even Elon Musk acknowledged the risk in a recent investor call. He warned that if US automakers didn't step up, China would wipe them out. The numbers backed his claim. China's low production costs, rapid innovation, and advanced tech were reshaping the market. Tesla now faced a defining moment: innovate at an unprecedented rate or risk fading into the background. With Chinese EVs already entering the US through indirect channels, the competition had never been fiercer. China's battery dominance threatens Tesla's future. Wall Street watched anxiously. Tesla's stock was already under pressure, and if investors saw China gaining the upper hand, the fallout could be disastrous. The big question was, did Musk have a plan to defend Tesla, or was the company about to lose its crown? While US automakers fought for market share, China quietly secured the world's lithium, cobalt, and nickel supplies, locking in long-term contracts years ahead of competitors. The result? China now controls 80% of the global battery supply chain, from mining to manufacturing. Even Tesla, the top US EV maker, depends on China for critical battery components. Without cheap lithium and efficient production, American automakers remain at a disadvantage. China's EV industry has also perfected LFP, lithium iron phosphate, batteries, which are cheaper, longer lasting, and faster charging than those used by most US automakers. Companies like CATL and BYD have slashed production costs, widening their competitive edge. Meanwhile, solid-state batteries, once seen as the future of EVs, are already being mass-produced in China, while the US remains years behind. American automakers face a harsh reality: without access to cheaper batteries, they can't compete on price. Building domestic supply chains takes years, time they don't have. Even with Biden's Inflation Reduction Act pushing for local battery production, China has already won the battery war. The US lacks the infrastructure, raw materials, and government support to catch up anytime soon. Unless something drastic changes, American automakers may be stuck buying Chinese batteries indefinitely, ceding control over EV production. But China's ambitions go beyond dominance at home. It's about global expansion. While the US debates tariffs and regulations, Chinese EV makers are aggressively entering Europe, South America, Africa, and even North America. Their strategy? Cutthroat pricing. Brands like BYD, Speng, and NIO sell high-tech EVs for thousands less than Western competitors, making it nearly impossible for US automakers to compete. With battery supply and pricing power in their hands, is China on track to dominate the future of EVs while the US falls further behind? China's silent EV takeover is already happening. Instead of waiting for approval to enter restricted markets like the US, China has taken a different approach, building factories overseas. Mexico has become a key hub for Chinese EV production, allowing manufacturers to bypass US import tariffs. As a result, low-cost Chinese EVs will soon enter the US legally, with little American companies can do to stop them. China's dominance goes beyond just car sales. By securing battery plant deals in Europe and controlling the global supply chain, even Western automakers now rely on Chinese partnerships. Major brands like Volkswagen and BMW have turned to Chinese firms to keep up with battery demand. In Africa and South America, markets long ignored by the West, China is filling the gap with affordable EVs, securing an early advantage. Perhaps the biggest power move is China's control over EV infrastructure. By investing in charging networks worldwide, they are shaping the future of global EV standards. Many of these stations use Chinese technology, meaning even Western EVs depend on China's grid. The US has tried to counter this with tariffs and trade restrictions, but it may already be too late. Cheap, efficient Chinese EVs are on the way, and the US must act fast to keep up. While the US debates whether to allow Chinese EVs, they are already here, just not how most expected. Through loopholes, partnerships, and strategic alliances, Chinese automakers have infiltrated the industry. Even Tesla, America's EV leader, relies on Chinese suppliers and battery tech. Its Shanghai Gigafactory produces more cars than its US plants combined, and Elon Musk himself has acknowledged that without China's battery supply, Tesla would struggle to meet demand. Another strategy involves partnering with struggling American automakers. Instead of selling directly to US consumers, Chinese firms license their tech to Western brands, allowing them to sell Chinese-engineered EVs under American names, avoiding direct tariffs. Mexico is also a key player in China's EV expansion. By setting up factories there, Chinese automakers take advantage of the USMCA trade agreement, which allows vehicles assembled in Mexico to enter the US tariff-free. China's EV invasion isn't coming, it's already happening. The real question is, can the US counter it before it's too late? China's growing grip on the US EV market is evident. American consumers are unknowingly fueling China's dominance in the EV industry. From replacement batteries to charging stations, the US aftermarket relies heavily on Chinese manufacturing. Many car dealerships now stock Chinese-made EV parts because they're cheaper and more efficient than domestic alternatives. Meanwhile, Chinese EV startups are bypassing traditional dealerships, selling directly to US consumers via platforms like Amazon and Alibaba. While this market is still small, it's growing fast. Once demand surges, it could spell trouble for US automakers.